Hey guys, Anna here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build. Today we're in the world of Newcrest and we are on the Midtown Meadows lot, which is one of the fairly large lots in the upper portion of Newcrest. Newcrest, of course, is a base game world that has no lots on it, no builds on it. It's a completely blank world and it is one of my favorite worlds, purely because of the lighting. I love to build in Newcrest. When I did my base game only series a while ago, I did pretty much all my builds in Newcrest and I just built out Newcrest. I've done it several times. It's just a really solid world. All right, today's build is a 5x3 bedroom family home. This is just a standard classic family home that I tend to build here on the channel. If that is something you like to watch, if that is definitely your cup of tea, I build quite a lot. And yeah, family homes, community lots, a little bit of everything I build. If that sounds like something that you would like to be around for, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you here. And yeah, let's get into it. So I've pretty much gone through the shell. This is what I would call a shell of a build. So we have the shape, we have the roof on, we have, I think we do add an additional chimney to the front. This is, at this point, I'm finalizing the roof textures and the coloring. We've gone in with the growing together kind of sage coloring. And I actually pair this with the Adventure Awaits kind of stone brick. It's not stone, it's brick. The masonry swatch. I love this combination. It was at this point where the exterior of the build was really coming together for me. I did a build, the Clark family home, that looked very similar to this. I built them around the same time actually. And yeah, it was just a solid family home. I didn't mean for it to turn out to be so big, but that tends to how my building goes. I try to make a smaller home and it just ends up being a 5-bedroom home, but I just think it's wonderful. It's a great floor plan. It really flows and it's just a really great use of the space. Has a really good sized backyard, and yeah, it's just a really solid build. So let's get into it. So at this point I am just mapping out where my landscaping will go. I tend to start with fencing and then I've gone in with just a concrete pathing. What I've done in this particular build, that extra extension there of fencing is where I put a kind of like a garden, and I really like that. I've done it in the past where I've sectioned that off to be like a kids area. You could do it that way, but I really wanted to do a garden. I thought that would be a nice use of the space because I wanted to make a more generalized family home. All right, still using quite a lot of the assets from Adventure Awaits. We've used the kind of hardwood flooring, that deck flooring. We've used that. We've used one of the 3-tile wide double doors. I hadn't used this door. I like it, but I don't like it. What I don't like about it is most of the swatches are very worn, and I didn't want to give that impression that this was a older home or that it was a bit, run down. But I liked the color of it and I, preferred that kind of beige brown to just a stark white. All right, let's talk a little bit about the floor plan as we are mapping out the downstairs. So you walk in and you have to your right hand side, if you go through that archway, you go into what is the living area. So you have a kitchen, living and dining through that space. You also have a door that's from the kitchen that leads to the downstairs bathroom. I thought that was a genius use of the space. You then wrap around towards the back of the build. You have a study and obviously a study. You then walk through to, I guess, an additional living room, which is kind of just like a sitting room. And then that leads out to the exterior of the build. And then all the way to the front of the build, if you go to the left side instead of the right, you will go through to the master bedroom that has its own ensuite. And then, so you have 2 bathrooms downstairs. So you have an ensuite and the bathroom that's kind of at the front of the build near the kitchen. And then upstairs, you have the remainder 4 bedrooms and a bathroom. And yeah, that's basically the standard floor plan of this build. And I just think it works. It flows really well, and it's a really good floor plan. This build is available on the Sims 4 gallery if you would like to download it and play in it. I do use a ton of packs, I'm afraid, but again, if you do download a build and you don't have the pack, it will just delete that item. You'll still have the house, you'll still have the floor plan, you'll still be able to, you know, maybe decorate it the way you would like to, add and delete things and whatnot. All right, so I've actually used the windows that come from, it's a combination of, I think, Strangerville. Are they Strangerville? I think these white windows are Strangerville, the ones on the lower part, and then the ones with the shutters are actually from Wedding Stories. I really like them. There's a couple of windows that have shutters. I know we got a couple with University, but they look a little bit more modern. I wanted something that looked a little bit more traditional, so I went with the Wedding Stories ones, and I love that pop of red. So the red just gives it the facade a little bit of a pop, and the brown columns instead of white columns, that brings more in from the chimney and the foundation, which is of course from Adventure Awaits. And it just, as I said, I've also done that in the Clark family build, which was another large family home that I'd built around the same time. And I really enjoyed it in that build, so I have mimicked it here. All right, so this is the back. It looks very boxy, but I think that's okay. I don't normally have a back that looks very boxy like this, but it works. So we've just put in some simple hedges, some trees, mapped out where I want the pool. I then put in a seating area. We put in a grill. I then believe we do put some children's stuff, like I think maybe a monkey bars and stuff. As I said, this is not pack restricted. We've got a ton of packs that we use in this particular build. I've used the heater kind of lamp item that we got as part of, like, if you bought the pack early, bonus content for Adventure Awaits, I've used that. That is our little gardening area that I mentioned about. I just really like it. I put in, so monkey bars, and I put in a basketball hoop. I don't really, sometimes I include a basketball hoop, sometimes I don't. I think one of the reasons I tend not to is because the actual gameplay of that item is buggy, and like your Sims will quite often just want to just do basketball all the time. And I think the new weights object is the same, like the free weights object. So, but I think visually it just elevates the build. All right, we have gone in with just, this is basically all of the exterior done. So in terms of the build itself and the landscaping, very simple landscaping, daisies, hydrangeas, palms, just some greenery and white with the pops of red. All right, this is the upstairs. The upstairs floor plan did take me a little bit to kind of map out how to get a door to each bedroom. I ended up doing this like little square in the middle and then deleting it so that I could create somewhat like a faux hallway. So we've done that. And as I said, upstairs you have 4 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The smaller room there, I believe, is a bathroom. And then you have the bedroom. So you have your master bedroom, a male teens room, an infant's room, a kid's room, and a female teens room. So it's a massive build, lots of room for families and generations. And if you like to play legacy households gameplay, like this would be very suitable. I've used the pastel pop carpet in some of the bedrooms. I think in potentially the infant's room and the kids' room. I don't think I did it in all of the adult rooms, but I sometimes like to mix in carpet in bedrooms. I don't do it all the time. All right, we are starting the decorating. So we are downstairs and we start with the kitchen. I've used the Home Chef Hustle, wow, that was a mouthful, kitchen set. And I love the shape of this kitchen. It's a somewhat small kitchen, but it has everything you need. And just through that door is where the downstairs bathroom is. And I really love this little center little island, and it's completely functional. And I've used the kettle. The kettle gives me a pop of green. I like to, as I said in previous builds, I like to have like a color palette. And I think that a room like a kitchen or a living room to me generally sets the tone for the rest of the build. It's the main reason I start with the bigger rooms. I think also because in terms of spacing, they're the most important. Like that's where your sim's going to be most of the time. So it's really important that they fit and can wrap. I love this couch. This is from Growing Together. We've also used the coffee table from Growing Together. The actual buffet table comes from, I believe it's the Refined Living Room kit. And we've paired the dining table from Businesses and Hobbies. Now, I will say, I've said this before with the wood tones, we're getting this kind of, it's not orange, but it is more of a cherry toned lighter wood tone. And it just doesn't match a lot of the other packs. Some of the newer packs, we are seeing that swatch come through. So it's very hard to pair that swatch with everything else. So you would see that throughout this build, I use a ton of different wood tones just because I'm struggling to match them. All right, we are in the bathroom. I decided to use one of those base game counters, kitchen counters that has one of the newer swatches. And that has that kind of cherry light tone, wood tone that I'm talking about. Paired that with the Growing Together mirror and just a very simple downstairs bathroom. Just has everything you need in it. And I use pretty much this same layout in all three bathrooms in the home. I think I make a slight difference. I actually might swap out the mirrors to those beautiful round mirrors that we got in Adventure Awaits. They're just beautiful. They kind of have like a modern element to them, even though it's very cabin-like furniture, rustic furniture. All right, we've kind of gone backwards. We're going back to the entryway where I've used one of the rugs that come from Adventure Awaits, and it was a perfect size. And it kind of looks like it was something like that particular swatch pairs really well with like the Businesses and Hobbies kind of furniture kind of decor. So I've used that a lot. I've used some high school years. Dream Home Decorator pairs so well with Businesses and Hobbies. So this particular room is the master bedroom. We've used a desk. I think I used this particular desk throughout the entire build. Put in some baby photos. I thought that was really cute. I love that little asset. It's funny how much I like it, but I just think that it's so realistic that you would have baby photos and stuff. This bed's beautiful. It doesn't have the best energy rating, but that's okay. I put a ton of these family photos. I think you unlock those from doing family reunions or something as part of Growing Together. But I just love them. I just think they're so realistic. And yeah. All right, we are wrapping around towards the back of the build. So in the hallway that kind of separates, the left side to the right side, I just put in like a cat tree. So I do allow pets for this build, and a bookcase. The bookcase comes from the Refined Living Room kit. And this is the study. This is just kind of like a private kind of study that has its own seating area. Like you could tell that this is potentially maybe for a writer or just someone that maybe works from home or just has the need to have like a private study. Just a very simple room. Again, used the rug that comes, one of the swatches that comes from Adventure Awaits. Oh, I'll get it out in a minute. And different color scheme. And I like this. I think it's a good idea. I think, it brings cohesion because we're using primary colors, your blues, reds, greens, and yellow. Yep, yellow. I'm thinking what the primary colors are. But it's cohesive for sure. I love this fireplace. It's one of my favorite objects from the most recent pack. So I've used that and I've paired it with the Refined Living Room couches. I just think that it's like, again, it's that blend of like modern with rustic. And I just think it's really nice. Definitely want to build maybe another kind of horse ranch build. I did a build a few months ago that was like a modern horse ranch build, and that was beautiful. It had a really kind of like like grey, soft toned build, and it just, that's available on the channel if you'd like to go back and watch that speed build. It's one of my better builds, in my opinion, in my humbled opinion. I've put in some kids play equipment down here. I've also think I put like a butterfly catching asset on the bench and a tea set, because that's kind of like a sitting room. And I think that's my way of saying that that's like a sitting room as opposed to the living room, which is more kind of where you would watch TV. Okay, I am just going back through and adding a whole pile of clutter. I've added these cute little cushions. These come from the BFF event, and I love the texture of them. They kind of look a little bit more woven, and they're also a bit chunky compared to the other base game cushions. We are going around with the modern luxe curtains. I've used them all throughout the build. So now that we are moving to the upstairs, I wanted to start with the curtains. We have an additional study nook that has a cat tree, another cat tree. This cat has so much stuff. I did make sure that one of the bathrooms does have a litter box, so I should see that. You can kind of see a sneak peek there of the upstairs bathroom. You'll see that more in the tour. And we start with our first upstairs bedroom, which is the teen girls room. I love this room. We start with a bed from Eco Lifestyle, actually, and the combination of lilac and baby pink is just, that's the color scheme. We use a lot of packs in this room. We use Love Struck, Eco Lifestyle, High School Years, Blooming Rooms, Book Nook, Dream Home Decorator, just a lot of the pets pack. But it's just, actually Love Struck had a lot of those kind of girly items. I've put my claw clip item in here. I love that piece from the Sleek Bathroom Kit. I use it in most bedrooms. And yeah, we use my favorite rug, which is from Love Struck. And I've said this before, and one of my reasons for liking this is the tones of the shades just so much more complementary to the colors that we are seeing in more recent packs. All right, so that is the first bedroom done. We are then moving into a child's room. This is quite an interesting child. I've used a lot of the Life and Death expansion pack in here paired with Dream Home Decorator. I really wanted to use kind of that soft gray blue color scheme. And I don't usually do bedrooms of this kind of theme. And I've also got one of the imaginary friends. I've got the kind of Grim Reaper Bluffy stuffed animal doll as well. Void Critter. Like, it's just, I'd say it's more masculine, this room. But I like it. It's very different to what I would normally decorate. So, yeah. I don't think it's my favorite room, though. I do think that teens room we started with is more my favorite room. All right, now we're moving into something that's a little bit more classic Anna. This is the infant's room. It's just a basic yellow and greenish room. This is completely gender neutral. There's not really anything that kind of depicts gender. I love this chair. It comes from Venture Weights. I love the little kind of drapery blanket that's on it. It's just so sweet. And I've paired it with a toy box and some stuff from the Storybook Nursery Kit, base game items. I love this tree that we put in from Growing Together. That yellow, that pop of yellow really, really makes this room, in my opinion. Gone in with some wall sconces that I used outside. Just going around placing wall sconces. And we are moving into the final bedroom, which is a teens male room. We use a bed from High School Years paired with the rug from Love Struck. We've used the same dresser that comes from High School Years. We put a gaming console, put an old-fashioned TV, because when I was growing up, that's what I had. I didn't get a nice fancy TV in my bedroom. I had like an older TV. So I put that in there thinking that that'd be a little bit more realistic. We used the one tile desk that came from Businesses and Hobbies. And I love this art piece. This was actually part of a base game update. And I just really like it for just as a wall decal. All right, we are live in game and we are going around for the tour. So we start off as you enter in. We walk through the entry as you would. Lovely space. I put my alarms there, just a buffet table, and that's where your staircase is. I love that table. That actually comes from Life and Death. So you walk through into the kitchen, dining, and living room. I put in a high chair for the infant or toddler. It could be a toddler room. You could just put a toddler bed. Lots of clutter, very minimalistic kitchen. And you head through the door into the downstairs bathroom that has the litter box. Yep. You then head down the hall through towards the back of the build. You have just a bookcase and then a door that leads in to a study. Again, you could make this into a skill building room or whatever you wanted, really. It's a fairly decent sized room. And then further wrapping around, you have the kind of like a sitting room, like a good room. It's got some kids' play toys, but it's just kind of like a place to sit and have tea and chat. It's got that beautiful fireplace. And it's just that combination of that modern meets rustic traditional throughout the build. And then you go back to the front of the build. To the left side, you have the master bedroom, which uses a lot of business and hobbies and dream home decorator and just more of a minimalistic style. Into their ensuite, which again uses that same kind of green and orange tones throughout the build. You head upstairs and you have like a tiny little study nook, almost just like a desk and a cat tree. You head to upstairs bathroom. Really good size bathroom, actually. You have the female teens room, which I think is my favorite room in the house. I think so. You have that very kind of eccentric kind of child's room, but it's soft. It's not harsh. I wouldn't say that they're gothic. I would, but it's still, yeah. That infant's room, very classic, basic infant's room. And then you have the final bedroom, which is a kind of like a male teens room. I've got the scout board and just, yeah, really nice. Really paired the colouring around that bed that came from high school years. We then head downstairs and back through towards the back of the build. You have an activity table, you have a kids area, you have a pool, you have a place to, entertain and sit and eat. You have a diving board. And you have some kids' play equipment and the gardening space. And that is really the back of the build. That's the backyard. Wraps around to the front. And yeah, you have a chess table on the front porch. It's just a beautiful build. I really enjoyed this build. I hope you did too. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.